Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. Sorry that I'm a little late on this one. I had an extremely busy morning. So for the 5 people that actually care about my thoughts on this show and my opinion, this is going to be my thoughts on the Acolyte season finale. Whether it's the series finale or the season finale, that is yet to be seen at this particular moment. This is basically going to be my thoughts, not only on the finale, but the good, the bad, the ugly of the entire series. You know, one of the biggest problems I have with Lucasfilm since Disney purchased it, this new iteration of Lucasfilm, is the fact that they leave so many things on the cutting room floor. And what I mean by that, not necessarily like they're leaving it on the cutting room floor when they're editing the thing, but what I mean is they ask the fans and the viewers to have this leap of faith, right? They ask us to, follow the story. They introduce all these plot elements and questions and all this stuff, but nothing is ever resolved the way it should be. And that really kind of starts with J.J. Abrams in The Force Awakens, when Maz Kanata has Rey's lightsaber. And even Han is like, where'd you get that? Oh, that's a question for another day, And when did they answer that? They answered it in a comic book, right? So everybody who watched that movie never got the answers unless they happened to read the comic book. And I'm going to tell you, it's like a 2 to 3% chance that the people that followed that read that comic book. It's just the way it is, because a lot of people don't follow the comic books and the novels and stuff like that. Even when you get into something like Rise of Skywalker and the whole convoluted mess that J.J. Abrams and Lucasfilm made with Palpatine returning and all this stuff, a lot of that was explained in the extra novels that came out, like The Shadow of the Sith and all this stuff, where they really explain Rey's parents. And again, that is stuff that's in the movies that never gets touched on, never gets explained. And this has really leaked into the TV shows, like whether it be like Ahsoka. Ahsoka really stands out to me, because in Ahsoka, there were so many questions that we asked and nothing was answered at the end. And a lot of people could say, well, they're going to save it for a season 2. You're never guaranteed a season 2. The rule of thumb when it comes to storytelling in TV, you wrap up your initial storylines at the season finale. And then if you want to plant seeds for a season 2, you can, but you need to finish all those thought processes that you introduced at the beginning of the season and wrap it up by the end of the season. And even with Ahsoka, with Balin and all this stuff and his apprentice and what was he looking for? Now, if you read the comics and stuff, you're like, okay, he's looking for the Mortis gods and stuff. The average viewer doesn't know that, and they don't do a good job explaining that. And I feel like the Acolyte, it falls victim to, yet again, sloppy storytelling when it comes to the Disney Plus shows. It's like another example of, we have these ideas, but we don't pay them off. Now, I feel like this episode did a good job answering the majority of the questions, like who Chimera is, who's his like who is he, like what's going on with him? Oh, well, he was the green chick's apprentice, and he kind of left the dark. The Jedi became a dark, user or whatever, blah, 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 so on, so on forth. There's this whole discourse on, is he a Sith? Is he not a Sith? That's up to interpretation. I can go either way. I definitely see things out there where they introduce Plagueis in this episode, and people are like, oh, well, he's Plagueis' apprentice, and Plagueis is learning how to manipulate the midichlorians by following what happened with these witches. Like, that's where he kind of got the idea from. So Plagueis is the master of the Chimera, and Chimera is looking for his apprentice, much like Dooku was looking for Asajj Ventress and all this stuff. That's kind of the way it always goes. It's the rule of 2, but they never really kind of stand with that. There's always a master and apprentice, but the apprentice is always looking to become the master, so they're always trying to recruit another apprentice to overthrow the master. So that could be a situation that is going on in in this episode. But like I said, they don't do a good job explaining that. So that's all speculation on my part. Like, is Plagueis Chimera's master, and is he looking for an apprentice to overthrow Plagueis? Like, again, that is all speculation on my part. That is nothing that was explained in this episode. There were a lot of things in this episode that I really thought was pretty cool. The lightsaber battles themselves, I always thought was absolutely just awesome in this series. I always thought, the lightsaber battles were all really well done in this series, and I really enjoyed the lightsaber battles in this. Another thing that I really enjoyed, and I'm checking to see if I can find it here, but the one thing I really enjoyed was in this, they actually show a character bleeding the blade. And what that is when a dark user can take a kyber crystal and bleed it and make it like negative energy. And we finally see that on screen. I really enjoyed that. Ahsoka kind of reversed it with an Inquisitor's lightsaber, so the blade can be reversed. If the lightsaber is unbled, then it becomes like a white, and that's how Ahsoka kind of got hers. So I thought that was cool. I thought the fact that they showed Plagueis was awesome. The fact that they bled the crystal was awesome. That's some lore stuff that I really enjoyed. And they kind of had like this little thing with Yoda at the end that I really enjoyed as well. But I'll be the first person to admit that, yes, there was a lot of sloppy storytelling in here. And I don't know if that's because Dave Filoni. I don't know if that's because there's too much meddling from Kathleen Kennedy. I'm not entirely sure. But you can't sit there and put a 30-minute series together, like a 30-minute episode together, 7 30-minute episodes, and think you're going to be able to hit all story standpoint. You're just not going to do it. I think Lucasfilm really needs to focus on, hey, we want a dedicated series. I think this series has a lot of potential. I personally would love to see a season 2. I think it has a lot of potential, but they need to let the stories tell themselves. Mandalorian was like its own separate thing. Like the first couple seasons was just side quests. He's like, hey, I'm going on a side quest. I'm going on a side quest. Meanwhile, there was like a bigger thing going on behind the scenes. And The Mandalorian is what it is. But with this, there's so much lore and so many things that you're asking the viewers to take a leap of faith on that you really need to explain. I enjoyed the series overall. I think it had many flaws. The show is not flawless by any means, but I think for me, it did a good job, basically having me want to watch each week. I wanted to see what was going to happen. And really, when Chimera came in and he was doing all this cool stuff, to me, that's when it kind of elevated. I thought episode 1, episode 2 was good. 3 and 4, not so much. 5 came back. 6 was good. And then like the flashback stuff, I like, there's a lot of stuff that I did not like. And there was motives with Saul and all this, and the virgins on the planet and all this, and the Jedi cover up and all that stuff that was really intriguing, but they didn't really dive into it. And even in this episode, we have a senator basically coming in and talking about how they don't trust the Jedi and they're going to bring it to the chancellor and all this stuff. And he even asks the question, what's going to happen when some Jedi just kind of loses control and we can't stop them, kind of foreshadowing what happens with Anakin and Palpatine much later on down the series. And I thought it was a very good question that they brought up, and I liked what they did there. And the thing is, different people believe different things. Some people look at the Jedi and they think the Jedi is like this all pure, all good, and they always do the right thing. And the Jedi always try to do the right thing, but you got to understand each person thinks the right thing is different. And Saul and all of them kind of thought they were doing the right thing, but in actuality, they're not. The Jedi are actually really flawed. And I think the Clone Wars TV show really did a good job of kind of showing the flaws of the Jedi and their hubris and all this stuff. And look what they did to Ahsoka. The Jedi are really like rat bastards. My boy Chris, Neo GameSpark, said that one time. He sent me a text and like, the Jedi are rat bastards. And I kind of agree with that. The Jedi are very flawed. And I think George Lucas was really trying to explain that was sort of their hubris was their downfall in the prequels, to where they got involved in things that they should never got involved in. This was something Qui-Gon and Dooku really kind of seen, and it was their downfall. And again, Jedi always tried to do right thing. I am 100% convinced that Saul thought he was doing the right thing the entire time, but he wasn't doing the right thing. And that's the thing, right? Like, we can see it as a viewer, we're like, oh bro, that's not the right thing. But at that time, Saul thought he was doing the right thing. But overall, I thought the lightsaber battles were all really good in the show. The best lightsaber battles that Disney Plus has ever put, or Disney in general has ever done. But the show did a good job answering some questions, but also a bad job not answering some questions. I think they're relying on a season 2, and that's not always the case. You can't always rely on a season 2 because that's not always possible. But my thoughts in general, it's kind of a mixed bag. I think there's some good in here. I think there's some bad in here. If someone doesn't like it, I can understand that. If someone does, likes it, I kind of sit in the middle. Like, I would watch it again. I would go through, binge it again, and just kind of get a cohesive story of what they were trying to tell. But, it is what it is. I think it's one of the better Star Wars Disney Plus shows. I think it's better in Book of Boba Fett. I think it's better in Mandalorian Season 3. I think it's better than Ahsoka, to be honest with you. And I love Ahsoka because, I love the character, but Ahsoka didn't answer anything. Ahsoka didn't answer anything. And it was really a letdown the way Ahsoka just kind of ended. Like, they just didn't have a plan. But anyway, guys, that's my thoughts on the Acolyte. I want to know what you guys think. Be sure to leave your comments in the comment box below. Smash that like and subscribe button. And until next time, guys, as always, I'm Robert Storms, and that's my opinion.